Part of the deal to dump Zack Kassian's contract this summer involved the Oilers trading down from number 29 overall to number 32 overall at the draft. At that spot, the Oilers grabbed Reid Schaefer, a big physical winger who can score goals. Schaefer, who's a native of Spruce Grove, Alberta, was selected by the Seattle Thunderbirds in the 8th round of the 2018 WHL draft. He made his WHL debut in 2019-20, scoring 1 assist over the course of 7 games. Schaefer spent the majority of that season playing for the Spruce Grove Saints of the AJHL, where he'd score 16 points over 33 games. The 2020-21 season was almost entirely derailed due to the pandemic, so Schaefer only played 21 games combined between the Saints and the Thunderbirds. He didn't score a point in 3 games in the AJHL, and he scored just 2 points over 18 WHL games. Had he been born 1 week earlier, Schaefer would have been eligible for the 2021 NHL draft. Instead, he got one more go-around at the WHL level before he was eligible to be drafted to the NHL. Coming into the 2021-22 season, Schaefer wasn't at all on the radar as a top NHL draft prospect, but that changed quickly. Schaefer scored his first WHL goal in Seattle's first game of the season, a 3-1 win over the Portland Winterhawks, and he kept going from there. All told, Schaefer scored 32 goals and 58 points over the course of 66 regular season games, and then he added 6 goals and 21 points in the playoffs as the Thunderbirds lost to the Edmonton Oil Kings in the WHL final. That breakout performance rocketed Schaefer up the pre-draft rankings. He came into the season pegged as a prospect who would go in the later rounds, and then went into the draft ranked as high as the number 20 prospect in the class. Even as the NHL moves its focus away from old-school physicality, there will always be a demand for power forwards with size and skill who can muck it up and score goals, and that's exactly what Reid Schaefer is. Finding such a player isn't an easy task. The Oilers paid a high price to add a power forward in free agency in 2016 as they signed Milan Lucic to a 7-year contract worth $42 million. Lucic had one good season in Edmonton in which he scored 23 goals, but he fell off a cliff after that. Ken Holland moved Lucic to the Calgary Flames in the summer of 2019 for James Neal, another forward whose production quickly fell off after signing a big contract in free agency. A few months later, Holland inked Zack Kassian to a 4-year, $12.8 million deal after he showed that he could fare well on Lucic's role as Edmonton's tough guy who could score goals. In the 2 seasons after signing that contract, Kassian struggled through injuries and inconsistent play and only scored 8 goals over the course of 85 games. Kassian was dumped at the 2022 NHL draft, and a few days later, Evander Kane was re-signed to a 4-year deal worth $20.5 million. Kane is the most talented of the 3 players and is a fair bet to remain productive over the course of his contract, but the reality is that power forwards play a very physically demanding style and their careers often wind up being shorter because of it. That's why the ideal way for an NHL club to find a power forward is through the NHL draft. The Bruins got 8 seasons of Milan Lucic and then avoided the big free agent contract as his game was about to decline due to wear and tear. The Oilers lucked out finding Evander Kane in free agency given his situation, and it's not something that's likely going to happen again. The hope for the Oilers with Schaefer is that they've found their power forward of the future and they won't have to go out searching for one through trade or through free agency.